Mr. Piquero. So you already did your talk this morning on Society of Evidence-Based Policing. What was it about, and what were your main highlights?
So we looked at over 183 months in London Metropolitan Police Department, whether and how the increase or decrease in police stop searches were related to either higher or lower knife injuries or higher or lower knife homicides. And what we found was, if you look at the overall duration, the more stop searches that occur, the fewer knife injuries and knife homicides occur. We also looked at two different policy changes that were embedded within that overall time frame. The first one was a cutback, and what that did was a directive from the Home Office to reduce stop searches. And what we found was, when that policy initiative was introduced, stop searches went down, but knife injuries and knife homicides went up. The second policy option we looked at was a surge, and the call from the London mayor at that time was increase stop searches. So when the increase in stop searches occurred, we saw a reduction again in knife injuries. So when you reduce stop searches, you have bad outcomes. When you increase stop searches, you have fewer knife injuries. And as you know, knife injuries are exceedingly costly. And so what we found was, when you tabulate all of the knife injuries in our data set, over 58,000 knife injuries, it amounts to a cost generated to the health system of over 480 million pounds. So, of course, however, the idea of stop searches is you can't use them in a blanket fashion. You have to use them in a targeted fashion in certain areas, and you have to do them in a procedurally just manner. So stop searches are one among many of police functions that can be implemented to reduce knife injuries in London.
That's really clear data, really clear findings.
The findings could not be clearer. We've analyzed this in terms of statistical methodology, the most advanced and the most advanced number of different ways we could possibly do this. There's nothing else methodologically that we could have done, and it didn't have to turn out that way. And the fact that it did, it's pretty strong and convincing in my mind as a methodologist and someone who's been studying this issue for over a quarter of a century. I've never seen data like this or results of this strength and caliber.
I think that's really interesting, because I remember at the time when knife crime did go up, knife injuries did go up, the Home Secretary's decision was to reduce the substance searches. It was said, no, it's not because of that. Well, many people were saying, well, of course it is, but now we actually have data and evidence to say that that is a result of that decision.
Absolutely. It could not be clearer. And again, I want to reinforce the point is that the stop searches convincingly work. There are harms prevented and lives saved. You can't turn away from the power of that, but you have to make sure you do them in ways that are procedurally just, that you treat community in a fair and unbiased manner.
Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. One time I did an interview with CNN in the States, and the person did record.